Good evening, everyone. This is Nicole Johnson-Starr with the PTSD Retreat Radio Talk Show. It is Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's time for two Whackos Key Lime Pie. Unfortunately, a very key member is missing at this time. Still waiting for Kevin, but I'm going to go ahead and push on because there's some interesting things in the news that everybody needs to be aware of. And we'll just give Kevin some time because I know how everybody loves having him on here. You know, there's something about Kev that just gets us all riled, in ways that we deserve to be riled and other ways we should probably curb. But let's go ahead and hit that news because, you heard Kevin and I go on and on about suicide and how important it is to actually, do something about suicide. It's just not okay. Our soldiers' deaths are rising. A soldier should never feel that they have no other option than to commit suicide. And last year, there were 192 among active duty soldiers. Now remember, this is not including the reserves, the Guard. It is strictly covering active duty soldiers, and it's not including the suicides that were done on medication and other things. It's strictly just, active duty. These are the ones they know about. And this is, by the way, is twice as many as there was in 2003, and already this year it's going to be even higher. They're expecting, excuse me, not this year, but last year the number was even higher. I'm floored by the number of deaths that are occurring. And it's getting worse, folks. It's not getting any easier. It's not going away. There are way too many individuals here that are falling to suicide. It's not something that, we can just sweep underneath the carpet. And it's not just affecting adults. It's also affecting children. We've got a lot of military kids who are struggling as they watch their parents go through it. And we've got spouses as well. If you guys haven't had a chance yet, there's a wonderful post taken from Paul Wayne, who's and all of his people out there. They've created a song called "The Promise." It is posted on the PTSD Retreat Facebook page. Awesome song. Please listen to it. It's talking from the military spouse's perspective. And just letting people know that they're struggling too. Every one of us has a job, and our kids are feeling this. About 2 out of every 3 children will experience at least one traumatic event before they turn 18, and that's not including military kids. That's regular kids. So if 2 out of every 3 kids will experience one traumatic event, and they're not even taking into account military children, that's not a good sign for when they're turning older. There are actually some beliefs that individuals with that have had some trauma in their childhood are more susceptible to develop PTSD post-deployment. This was actually new research published in the Clinical Psychology Science, a journal of the Association of Psychological Science. If individuals are more susceptible as they get older, dealing with trauma earlier, what's that going to say as our families are falling apart? Our society is not the same as it once was. There's no more village taking care of a child. It's now a single parent doing it all on their own with nobody around them that's willing to reach out. That's something to think about because our children are the next generation. I know I don't want my daughter dealing with trauma, but of course trauma is going to happen. But can we do something to keep our children from having PTSD symptoms? This is something that needs to be paid attention to. And you guys can look over at Science News or ScienceDaily.com for information on PTSD. They have wonderful articles out on there, and you deserve to go ahead and look at those. Another great place to look for information is the New York Times. They do actually have a section on PTSD where you can see things that are coming out in the news and just stay on top of all that. And people keep texting. Aha! Kevin. He is calling in out. See? I told you guys. We start talking and Kevin's going to come in because Kevin has a mouth he likes to share. So I'm going to tell him, get your butt on here. So as you guys know, the second Wacko is going to be coming on here, and you're going to hear us going back and forth because Kevin is hot to trot. As you know, last week he was unable to call in on the show, and he was pissed because we were out in Florida, and we had to do the broadcast for Talking with Heroes program on Blog Talk Radio. We were doing it at the side of the track, so Kevin got a little pissed because he was supposed to be on there. He was supposed to be co-hosting that, and I missed him very, very much. So as soon as Kevin gets on, we will get him on the radio. So how has your week been? What have you been up to? You know, let us know so we can actually share these things. We want you guys to be a part of this. You guys can Facebook message us, you know, and Kevin is constantly sitting there on Facebook throughout this and letting us know what's being said, and he's on. So let us know. You can reach us at the PTSD Retreat Facebook page. You can also reach Kevin E. Lake at the author page. He's always paying attention to it, even when we're on the radio, like now. Hello, Kevin.
What's up?
Nada, man. Welcome to the show again. You've been missed.
Thanks. Sorry I'm late.
It's okay. I'm just glad to see you. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Sorry that we weren't able to touch base on Friday's episode.
Thursday.
But we're here again. Well, Friday for me, Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday. That's right. Yeah, you missed out, and it's. I have a feeling that you would have had so much to say. I was just telling folks, I'm like, yeah, Kevin's going to be ready to talk because he didn't get to talk on Thursday's show. So be prepared. I was just telling folks about things in the news with PTSD. You know, our PTSD numbers are climbing. They're not going down, and things need to change, and it's affecting our kids. You know, 2 out of 3 kids are affected with PTSD, and we need to change things, Kev.
Nicole, do you think it's that the rate of PTSD is climbing, or that it's just simply being more recognized now where it was not before?
You know what? This is a personal opinion, not based on just research. So I'm just, now that I've that disclaimer's noted, I believe the answer is yes. The number of soldiers with pre-war trauma, you know, dealing with broken down families, you know, society, etc., our economy. I think that because of the multitudes of trauma that individuals are being subjected to prior to entering the military is setting them up for post-deployment trauma symptoms. You know, they're going to be dealing with PTSD. And you guys can look that up for yourself, and there's research being done on it. And I think it's Columbia University. I was actually just talking about that, so it's interesting you bring that up, Kevin. In Science News, researcher Bruce Dornwind and colleagues at Columbia's Mailman School of Public Health and the New York State Psychiatric Institute, they're actually doing studies on this using Vietnam veterans. They actually took 260 males into a study, and they're showing some effects of PTSD, that it's actually longer lasting, and that it's from, some of these things are coming from before they even entered the military. They're just...
Okay. So they were predisposed to the condition because of former events, former lifestyles. You know, it's interesting that you bring this up, this line of thinking, Nicole, and here comes one of Kevin's probably not so popular statements he's about to make.
Told you guys.
Again, of course, guys, remember Kevin's a combat veteran from the Iraq War who loves his country, America, and would die for her today if the call came in. And in spite of my what's called disabilities, I call them things that slow me down to make the rest of the human race almost be able to catch up to me. I would, if America were attacked today, I'd be on the first plane or boat back, and I would take 2 arms, even though the arms I would take to have been taken away from me by our government. I would still find a weapon, and I would defend America against all foreign threats and domestic threats. Okay, now with that said, here comes my statement. Okay. I've been living over here in the Philippines for most of the 3 years now. I've been here for a year and a half straight, and it's a completely different culture from not just America, but from the West. Asian culture entirely is different. Eastern culture being different from Western. But it's a much more laid-back, relaxed, don't sweat the small stuff type culture. And I've been thinking a lot lately that, it's almost like you could get PTSD or have so many of these isms that we're discussing just from living within American culture, inside of a society that puts such high demands on its people to work 60 to 80 hours a week.
I'm actually going to disagree with you on that, mate.
Okay, go ahead. Tell me why, and then I'll finish my statement. Then you'll probably be like, "Oh yeah, okay, well."
This is why I love you. I'm actually talking to a bunch of different countries that are dealing with post-traumatic stress. This is not an American epidemic. This is global, folks. This is our global economy, our global citizenship are suffering. This is not just a U.S. thing. It's countries that not even just the top of the world countries, not just the Western Hemisphere, those who have all the technological advances. We're talking about third world countries as well. We've got...
Yeah, that I agree with, Nicole, because trauma is trauma. And that's one of the things I address on the show about PTSD. You don't have to just be a veteran to get it, and you don't have to be a combat veteran to get it. You get it from any traumatic event. And now, in line with what you're saying, I'll agree with you. I see mental health conditions here in Southeast Asia that are deplorable. I mean, I see people that if they were in the West and in the U.S., they would be getting help that they need that they don't get here.
Oh, definitely.
It's not recognized in the third world, and yeah, it's so unfortunate. I mean, in the town I live in, I've talked about this before. I work 12 or 14 hours a day, and then at the end of the day, I'll reward myself with a mountain bike ride. I stop by the local park 3 or 4 times a week, and I get a therapeutic foot massage, like one of those pressure point Asian massages. And I'll sit there. It takes an hour. It only costs the equivalency of $4 or $5 US. It's great. But I'll see several mentally ill people walking up and down the street, the homeless, the downtrodden, and they sleep on the street. People make fun of them as they pass. I mean, there's this one crazy guy that carries a stone with him about the size of a football all the time, and he goes around preaching about the evils of money all the time to an invisible audience. And no one here gets this man help. Instead, everybody in the whole city, as he makes his little route, his figure 8 around the whole city, every day people line up to laugh at him and point at him and throw stuff at him sometimes. That's despicable. And I'm proud that in our country that doesn't happen. I'm proud that we have a net to get people the help they need there,
Yeah, as long as they're able to get to it. But even in the local the local communities, that still does happen. I know for a fact that in the Prince Frederick area, we actually have some individuals that are on the street, and they're recognized. Everybody knows who these people are, and they. Okay, thank you, Kevin. You guys can't see the conversations that are happening or the faces and everything that Kevin and I see of each other, and he sometimes puts things out there that totally just disrupts my frame of thinking. So I should be used to it by now, but I'm not. I mean, this is not just in the third world. I mean, in the United States, there's still folks that are wandering, and my husband and I were talking about this, Kevin. I'm going to ask you a question. Our welfare system. What just happened? You just got real quiet.
Well, I'm listening for...
Okay, phew. Just making sure we weren't having a technical issue, because you know how it was last week. No,
I hope we're not having that problem this week. Can you hear me better?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the microphone is really picking you up well. So we'll just find out from the listeners. You guys, if he's not coming in clearly, let us know immediately so we can adjust. But, the welfare system and our homeless veterans. Actually, I'm just going to say the homeless period, because I think veterans should never be on the street at all, unless they're choosing. Okay.
Right.
If
you can't help people who don't want to be helped. You're always going to have that.
I am
try to help people, and they can turn you away at every corner. If they want to be on the street and suffer and die, then there's nothing you can do to stop them.
Okay, I didn't even have to ask my question. That's exactly where I was going. I'm having issues.
Oh, you know what? You're a big girl, and I'm a big boy, and I think most of our listeners are big girls and big boys, and they've been around the block enough times to know that that's a sad fact.
Yeah.
I mean, you're always going to have, and one of the things that I make sure to avoid, listen, in regards to PTSD, and, you can be part of the cure, or part of the therapy, part of the treatment, part of the progression out of the ism into the light, or you can be part of the problem and you can spread the disease. We've got to be careful, even within the PTSD community. There's a lot of people trying to help. Most of the people that suffer from it want to get better, but there are people that want to gripe and complain and talk about how terrible it is and focus on the bad. And if you do that, what you're going to see is the bad.
Always.
Always. So, unfortunately, those people are out there, and, it's like here in the Philippines, poverty is a major issue, and I was having a very bad day a couple of days ago, and the problem is that I had overextended myself again, and I was working too much, and I had made some commitments that were asked of me that I really shouldn't have made. Some people asked me to help them with some of their veteran and soldier Facebook groups as far as administrative stuff goes, and I said, yeah, sure, I'll help. The next thing I knew, I had agreed to help 3 or 4, and I had 3 or 4 more that simply added me without even asking me, and then and people were saying, hey, are you really committed to help us? We haven't heard from you in a day or so. And I realized, wow, I'm a writer who's trying to help people, veterans with PTSD and facing the suicide epidemic through my writing. I'm not really somebody that's an administrator of any sort of business or anything. And so I had to release myself from all those commitments. But at any rate, I was so frustrated. I was thinking, oh, what a problem I have. And when I get like that, I've learned to step outside of myself. So I got on my mountain bike and I went biking through the poorest, most downtrodden neighborhood in my city here in the Philippines. Okay, and I just put pictures on my author's page on Facebook showing the floods that were just here because of rain. We had a typhoon again this week. Well, in this neighborhood, people had all this cardboard hung up to dry on the trees and on clotheslines they made because they don't even have floors in their houses. They line them with cardboard, and then when the floods come, it rains, it gets muddy, the cardboard gets soggy, and then it gets infested with mosquitoes. The mosquitoes bite the kids, give them dengue, 3 or 4, maybe a dozen a year die from this disease.
Wow.
Okay, so by going there, it makes me realize, wow, I really don't have any problems. I thought I had a problem because I had committed to help some people that I really didn't have the time to give them. Now, with that said, I'll point out, I always talk to the people in these communities. The Filipinos are very friendly, and they love to talk to visitors from other nations. They call us foreigners, but I prefer the term visitor. It makes me feel more like I'm welcome as opposed to not wanted. But anyway, I'm in front of this shack on my mountain bike, and this little kid runs up to me and he says, give me money, give me money, give me money, which unfortunately happens very often if you're a visitor here in this country. And I said, why do you need money? He said, he's sticking his hand to his mouth, food. And I say, asa imu mama, which means where's your mama? Asa imu balai, where's your house? And he points at the little shack I'm in front of, and I look in, and there are 3 women and 2 men looking at me, laughing at me, making fun of my big nose, and they're gambling. They've got what little bit of money they have. They're on a table, they're playing a card game, and they're drinking alcohol, and it's maybe 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Now the men, they drive tricycles. They're motorcycles with cabs set on the side. They'll go around town to make their money, giving people rides. It's a major form of public transportation here. They'll do that for a couple hours, raise a couple hundred pesos, which is $4 or $5, go back to the squatter baron guy.
Wait, hold on a second, hold on. You said that's $4 to $5, but what is that in their community? What is that like for them?
200 pesos, which will feed a family of 4 for 2 days.
Wow.
Okay. Now they go back, and then, and not all, but
many.
Too many. Okay. They go back and they drink and they gamble and they lose most of what they make. And this is something I've had to learn, and Nicole, I've thought of this when we're talking about the people that you can't help. You can't protect them from themselves, and they don't want to be helped. I looked at the kid and I said, sorry kid, but I have my own child here to feed, and I'm not giving you money and I'm not giving you food. You know, I'm saying this in a language you can understand. The sign, I said, there's your mother and there's your father. And they're looking at me laughing, you know, encouraging their kid to ask me for money. And I said to the parents, I said, listen, the reason you don't have money is because you're stupid with money. And they go, oh, they get offended. And I said, look, I said, what little bit you have, you're losing to your friends here gambling and spending on alcohol. And I said, you've got 40 pesos there. That's a kilo worth of good rice that will feed your family for at least a day. But you're going to lose it drinking alcohol and playing cards. Now, Nicole, I had to learn the hard way. As much as my heart goes out to those children and those people that live under those conditions with no floors in the house or cardboard is a floor and it's all soggy from the typhoon, I could give them each 1,000,000 pesos, which is like $25,000 today, and in 6 months, in 2 months, they would have nothing. They would be broke, and their kids would still be hungry. Because the fact of the matter is, there are people, it's human nature, you cannot help people who do not want to be helped.
That's interesting that you put it that way, because that makes me think about when the bank buyout happened, you know, and they went ahead and gave the banks the money instead of giving it to Americans. My chief and I actually worked that out. It would have been $150,000 for every tax-paying American.
Okay.
If they had not given it to the banks, but had given it to every tax-paying American, it would have been $150,000 per person, per tax-paying adult. And
I worked out the math based upon every American over the age of 18, and when I did it, it was closer to 400,000. That's every legal citizen over the age of 18. And
seriously.
The banking problem, the mortgage problem, and the personal debt problem, all these things. You could have taken, everybody could have taken 100 to 200 grand, paid off their house, boom, mortgage crisis solved. Paid off all their personal debt with another however much, boom, that's solved. And then with what was left, they could have invested in the stock market, and boom, the stock market crisis is solved. How come it's perfectly okay to give the banks the money and not the people? See, they call it socialism if they were to have given it to the people, but they give it to the banks and they call it capitalism.
You know, it makes me wonder if they thought the same thing that you just explained, though, with your...
Most of the people wouldn't... You know what?
It doesn't matter. It still would have gone right back into the economy.
They would have gotten it back. I mean, if you've never read the book, The Richest Man in Babylon, read it. It explains through prose form. Have you read that?
Good book.
It explains through prose form the 7 principles of wealth. And the fact of the matter is, 97% of the population don't understand money, and that's why only 3% of the population control 97% of it.
You know, it's interesting. We're talking about quality of life here, and we're going to get back to that because it's affecting those with PTSD. I have a book here, and don't ask me to say the author's name because it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 letters, most of them consonants, and I know I would mess it up. So only that's easier. So it's called Steps Towards Enhancing the Quality of Life, Flow, the Psychology of Optimal Experience. I'm going to say that one more time. Steps Toward Enhancing the Quality of Life, Flow, the Psychology of Optimal Experience. And I encourage all of you guys to read it. I'm actually going to find you the ISBN because it is that good. Come on, I know you're in here. Okay. ISBN is... That better be it. I think this is the ISBN. Bravo Foxtrot 57... No, that's not the ISBN. That's a library number, isn't it?
It's going to have a bunch of different ISBNs based upon which edition that is and whether...
This is from 1990. You can find it on Amazon. It's really simple. But it basically...
What's the name of it? I'll put the link on my page.
It's called Steps Toward Enhancing the Quality of Life, Flow, the Psychology of Optimal Experience. It is one heck of a long title. But I'm going to explain, you know, this book is something that will assist anyone that's dealing with the fact that they are unhappy with their personal life. If you're bored, if you're unhappy, if you feel depressed, if you feel dissatisfied, If you don't feel gratitude or happiness about anything, read this book. This has decades of research in it, they've gone all around the world. They've gotten over 100,000 individuals involved in this research. Now, most research that's done nowadays does not have that much in there, but this is at 100,000 from all over the world, from every walk of life. So you can't say, oh, they didn't do a good random, selection. No, this is pretty daggone random.
This is a collection of the human race and their experiences, not just a certain culture.
Exactly. It's actually it's illuminating the life experiences of all people. And they literally went to the top of the mountains, in the Himalayas, below sea level, to the islands, to American workers, to the rich, to the poor, and everything in between. And I recommend this book because we get stuck in a rut. And you know what, Kevin, I'm so grateful you said how you go out on your bike and you just go to the poorest section of town and you realize where you're at. You take a look at everything, you visualize it all, and then you're realizing where you're at in the moment and finding things to be grateful for. That is so huge in creating change for yourself. And I'm so grateful to hear you say it, because I'm not, I tell this to people, I believe in it strongly. It's part of the human caring listening techniques that I'm teaching to guys, and it's so important. I just wanted to make sure that people got that book, because it's a really cheap way to make a change.
Well, Nicole, I usually go about getting to that place in my head from the opposite direction, because I try to keep everything positive. And I think I've talked before about a concept or philosophy known as The Secret.
Yep.
Okay.
Love The Secret.
Exactly. You know what? It works. You call me crazy, call me whatever you want to call me, but it works.
My goodness.
But anyway, so I always try to keep everything positive. When I start to get in a bad spot, I first start getting out of it by focusing on all the good things in my life. And sometimes I'll just step away. Nicole, I've been doing these hero highlight articles on Facebook, and this started about a month ago one morning when I was kind of getting in a bad spot, and I went outside in the yard, away from everything, away from the internet, away from the family was visiting friends in the city. I was sitting there in my garden, surrounded by the, thinking, gosh, and I was overworking again. I said, what is positive in your life? Everything's positive in your life. And I was staring at the ground, and I saw the grass, and I said, Kevin, you've got grass, okay? When we moved into this house 9 months ago, we had mud, because people here don't like to cut grass. I'm not calling them lazy. So they dig up everything that grows by the roots. Well, it took me 6 months to grow grass, and now when it rains, our yard does not flood. All the neighbors' yards flood, but ours don't, because we have a root system to absorb the water. I got grass. And then my eyes started getting up, and I see my eggplant. And I had like 15 vegetables on it. I'm like, man, I got eggplant. There's no GMOs in this stuff. I grew this. If I had no access to my money today, which has happened to me here. I got stuck one time 3 months without access to my own money. That's a long story, but it was hell. I was living off of rice and noodles that I was borrowing at 50% interest, because I'm a rich white American, and by God, I should be able to pay that high rate of interest. Anyway, I'm like, wow, look at all this food in my yard. If I didn't have money for a month, I would not even get hungry, because you've seen my garden, Nicole.
Yeah, it is. It's huge.
I keep looking up. I see the blue sky, I see the clouds, and I was singing about some of the problems from my military days and the PTSD and all that, and I started thinking of the good things, the good leaders I had, like First Sergeant Byron Humphrey, who was my drill sergeant, and that's when it's like the universe put this thing, man, you're right about that guy. Go tell everybody how great he is, because everybody's hearing everything about the bad leadership and about the bad things. It's putting you in a bad spot. So if you start noticing all the positive things in your life, you start to realize there's too many to notice. Now, there are days when that doesn't work, because I'm so down, I'm so frustrated, I've worked so hard, I'm exhausted. Then that's when I go through those bike rides, through those neighborhoods. And it's not to compare and say, oh, wow, look at how good I have compared to them. It's to look at it and say, wow, from a soulful standpoint, not from a selfish, I'm better than you standpoint, but from the soul. Saying, man, what problem do you honestly think you have compared to what you're seeing in front of you? And it's a wake-up call.
That I appreciate you saying that, because that's something I've had to do myself. When there are days when I'm just saying, I'm done. I just can't do anymore. I can't put another hour in. If we don't get the volunteers, we're just going to have to be done, da 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 da. But then I go and look out, and I realize just how far we've all come. I mean, literally, Kevin, how long ago did we first talk? We first started talking, what, a few months ago?
Yeah, 3 months, maybe 12 weeks ago.
Yeah, so 3 months ago, we're talking, and if I had just given in, would we have ever even gotten to this point? Would we have a radio show that we did together?
Have you told the people what point we've gotten to? Have you thrown out any numbers?
No, I haven't.
Throw out those numbers, and then I'll throw out some numbers for you as far as some of these things I've been writing about our soldiers and heroes.
All right, so folks, you deserve to know that we are doing awesome as far as listeners. I think earlier today we were at 2,808 individual listeners. And hold on just a second, because on one screen I have one thing, and let me get another one. And yep, 2,808 listeners. And last week we were just under 3,000. We're now at 3,284 plays.
Wow. So some of the people have been listening to the shows more than once.
Yeah.
But it's nearly 3,000 unique listeners.
Yeah.
Okay, Nicole, my book Off Switch came out in the middle of October 2012. You and I got together shortly after that and started working together as a team to address some of these PTSD issues.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't give anything that I'd written away. Okay, I started the hero highlights I was just telling you about, because trying to share positivity, shine the light.
Before these individuals pass on.
Exactly. I've started calling them alive-awaries lately, because instead of waiting until we read about our men and women who have served in an obituary and then praising about them for 5 minutes, I'm writing about them so we can honor them while they're still with us. So I've been using the term alive-awaries lately. But I've done two. The third one's coming out tomorrow, actually. The most recent one that was released last week has had more than 11,000 people read it. It was the article on Sergeant Dallin Higgs. More than 11,000 people have read that. And Nicole, yesterday, I put together an article on the unemployment rate among veterans in the U.S. about how it's excessively high and much higher than the civilian population, okay? Because in the media we always read about it and people always say, oh, it's because they're crazy, it's because they're angry. No, these government reports are coming out saying that none of that's actually true and they can't explain why it's high. And so from a veteran standpoint, I wrote an article about how, well, no, it's written, a lot of it is because of discrimination from employers, because they don't want to hire us because they know that if we deploy again, they're going to have to hold our jobs for us when we get back. So they don't want to put in the time and effort and the money it takes to train us, get us up to speed, and then lose us to a deployment as we go to fight for their freedoms to run that and operate that business. So anyway, I put that on my author's page yesterday, about 24 hours ago. And Nicole, in the last 24 hours, you know how many people have viewed that article?
How many? Oh, 30? Tell Dealey I said hi. I saw that wink.
Nicole said to tell you hi. Okay, so in the last 24 hours, the number of people who have at least viewed, opened the article I wrote about the discrimination against veterans in hiring is 32,700.
That is so awesome.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I put it on here at like 8 a.m. my time yesterday, and by the time I went to my bike ride at the massage place last night, and to get a massage at the park, it was like 10,000 people. And I was convinced there was a glitch in the system. And I went and I saw one of my friends here in America that owns a restaurant. And I like to take my family and eat there because he doesn't drink, he doesn't chase girls. It's a good family environment. We can go there. And so Nicole, you've got competition for my weekly conversations in English, because I found another American who's not here to drink and procreate himself to death. I'll say it that way. Anyway, I told him about it. I got home from his restaurant last night, and it was 19,000 people had read it. When I woke up this morning, it was like 30,000 that had read it, and nearly 3,000 more people have read it in the last few hours. But this shows, Nicole, what you were talking about never giving up. We've got a message, we've got a goal, we've got a mission. It's to bring awareness and to bring help to those who are suffering from PTSD. And on top of that, I'm really addressing the suicide epidemic in the States among our veterans. But you'll reach more people by shining a positive light than you will by bitching and complaining about how much it sucks to have PTSD, about, civilians don't understand. You know what? A lot of civilians don't understand. our aspect from a soldier's point, but a lot of civilians have PTSD, and it's affecting them the same way it's affecting us. And when we say, hey, welcome to the team, they're coming in with arms wide open, and they're helping us with this cause of PTSD. They don't care that we got it in war, and they got it through other traumas. We have the same ism, and it's affecting us in the same way, and there's strength in numbers, and the powerful light will shine brighter than darkness of any darkism.
Because trauma is trauma is trauma. We've been saying that since day one, folks. You've heard it. You've seen me put it all over the page on the PTSD retreat. You guys, trauma is trauma is trauma. And the more we come together, here again, we're going to go back to the basics. Keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. You know?
Yep.
Just kiss it. I used to say this to my employees. Just kiss it with love, with gratitude. That positive impact will change the world. It may not change, the whole world. It'll change your world. And if it changes your world, guess what? You're impacting your huge sphere of influence. It is said, I don't remember I think the statistic said it was like we all have 250 people in our sphere of influence. Yeah, that's a lot of people to impact. If you impact 250 people and only 10% respond, that's 25 people that are out there getting a change in their lives. Just 10% out of 250. Now, if you, and you're going to make a bigger change than that, because I know you do. Kevin, you make a huge impact on so many different people. And I am so excited when I hear other individuals that are totally committed to making that change. And you know what, folks? Start with yourself. I am going to give you guys a challenge. Get to the point where you can acknowledge 1,000 things to be grateful for. Just start looking. No date, no time limit. Just start looking and see if you can find 1,000 things to be grateful for. And not only that, I'll give you a guarantee. If you start looking, the more you look, the more you're going to find. It's that simple. It is that simple.
It's like the saying goes, Nicole, if you change the way that you view things, you'll see that the things you view look a lot different. If you look at things differently, the things you see will look different. Stop focusing on the bad. Stop focusing on the things that suck in life, and start focusing on the good. I mean, you know what? I hated losing my family. I went to war to defend my country, to come home to find out that my children had been moved to England. You know, Nicole, you lost a child. You know, and these stories are the same stories you'll hear from thousands of soldiers. And I wish they were with me today, and I pray for the day that comes that we're together again. But you know what? I'm somewhere right now. I have another family who will never replace my other family. Don't even go that way, people. But I have a partner, and we have a son that I love immensely, and they love me unconditionally. And I'm in a beautiful part of the world, and I'm doing what I love. I'm writing. I'm passionate about my writing. I get these stories that are in my head, I'm sharing with people. And there's a lot of people reading them now. And it's not because well, you know what? I did lay down and die, and I almost died, but I got back up. God delivered me, and now He's using me. The next soldier highlight. I'm not going to tell you who it's on. You'll all have access to it in 24 hours. But it's a man that I thought, and it says this in the article, I thought he was a lower enlisted dude in the Army that got hurt and was put out. He's helping me so much, and he's one of these people like Nicole's talking about. He's paid it forward. And he's not with this group. He doesn't work for this group. He works with them in our joint effort. But there's a group called Let's Find 1 Million People Who Really Support Our Severely Injured Veterans.
Yeah, if you guys want to find it, that's on the PTSD retreat page. I liked it today.
Yeah, they're one of the groups that work with us in raising awareness. They've got nearly 100,000 group members. They share the articles I write, and I always tell them how thankful I am, and they say, hey, just pay it forward like we've done with you. This next soldier I've highlighted, that's kind of one of his mantras, and he always says, anytime I thank him. And guys, when the book I had out had been read by only 6 people, this guy returned a message from me and said, brother, I'm a veteran, I'm here to help, let's see what we can do. And so I'm thinking, okay, this is another lower enlisted guy, he knows what it's like to be downtrodden. I've been getting to know this guy. He's one promotion away from being a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army. He's an active duty, and he's getting ready to go on his 3rd deployment in the War on Terror to Afghanistan. And he's serving full-time active duty Army as a highly ranked, he's a major, so they call it mid-grade. He's like a step away from being a high-grade officer. And he's a veteran. He's working with disabled veterans, veterans in need, whether they're disabled or not. And this is an example, guys, of the strength that comes by having that positive attitude, paying it forward, and getting outside of yourself and helping others. And you'll quickly find that you forget about your own problems when you're helping other people with theirs. Continue to serve. This man, in 24 hours from now, you'll know his name. You'll see his picture. I made him send me a picture in his dress blues, the one they make us take so that when we die, they can stick it in our obituaries. I said, send me that picture so that I can put it in your obituary so that when we praise you and all the people comment, they can see you looking your best in your dress blues. And he won't let me call him sir even now. He makes me call him by his first name. And you'll know his first name tomorrow.
I love folks like that who are continuing to serve outside the uniform, not just in the uniform, but outside the uniform. And there are so many wonderful individuals that are doing that. And Mike Elliott, and a few others. I don't know if I have their permission yet to say that they're still... Actually, no, because I've got them on radio. C.J. Dugan and Dan Briggs with DBA Aviation, they're all continuing to serve. Those, they do their jobs during the day, and they continue to serve at night. I mean, these guys are doing it double duty, just like this major. And, I mean, these guys are going above and beyond.
Yeah, this major that you're all going to read about tomorrow, him and his group, and he works with the group that he founded, they go out and buy groceries for soldiers that don't have food, They bought furniture with their own money and money they've raised through donations. They're currently, well, I don't want to give too much away because you're going to find out tomorrow, but they go around in the streets and give out coats and blankets to homeless veterans.
Ooh, you reminded me of another organization that I absolutely adore. Praise and Thunder.
You know what? They might be associated with each other. Are they bike riders?
Yeah. Praise and Thunder. These guys go into... I've gotten to go with them... I've gotten to go with them twice into D.C. They go into the worst parts of D.C. I mean, the first time I was there, my daughter was there, my husband was there, and I was there. We saw a knife fight break out right near us. My biggest concern was my baby, but... These guys are going right down there into that area, and that was my first time going. The second time, I got to experience another fight that happened out there, but these guys are not just, only there for what makes them happy. These guys are doing it no matter what. They're going out, they're making a difference, and they don't care. They're giving coats, jackets, food, scarves, socks, hats. I mean, and we're not talking like hand-me-downs. We're talking like brand new clothing to these guys who are living on the streets, and they're making a difference. And what's really awesome, check this. That knife fight I mentioned, there were veterans in the group that went out and formed a circle to protect the children that were there serving and broke the knife fight apart, because it was going to impact the families that were there helping. These guys are homeless. They don't have to still continue to serve honorably, but they protected those who could not protect themselves.
Yeah. You know what? You can take the home away from them, but you'll never take the soldier out of them.
Darn Skippy.
That's what soldiers do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we come back, and I've found so many helpful Americans, civilians, other veterans. Most of the people want to help, but still we face a lot of struggles in finding jobs and feeding our families. I mean, I'm living in a third world nation because I can afford to live here and eat. I know I have a roof over my head and I've got food in my house and I've got it growing in my yard and I'm pursuing my passion. I can't do this in America. I can't do it. There's no jobs and I've got certain issues that, I can't do the things now that I used to be able to do before my experiences in Iraq and the military. And so I'm here, but there's a lot of folks back there that still haven't. They didn't have the opportunity, or they don't have the means to do what I've done and kind of expatriate, not expatriate. I'm still a patriot, and I fantasize of living in America again someday when I can afford to do so. And so anyway, Nicole, I think we're running close to time.
Yeah, we are. We're actually down to the last minute. But folks, you guys can hear Kevin and I every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be here without fail. No matter what, we'll both be here. And
Kevin will probably be late, but he'll be here.
So, just give a few extra minutes. But we're here for you guys. It's not just the two of us just talking, two soldiers going back and forth, and we're doing this because we get to build awareness. We get to let you guys know that you're not alone. You have people out here who are paying it forward and paying it back. Now, veterans whom I've worked with, they actually have heard me say that. When I say you pay it forward and you pay it back, you pay whatever you get, whatever tool you've been given, you pay it forward to other soldiers, and you pay it back to yourself by using those tools. It'll go a long way. So tonight you've gotten a challenge to find 1,000 things to be grateful for with no time limit. And you've gotten some other tools as well as some organizations that you can actually support. And we thank you guys so much for listening. Come back next week. And by the way, Thursday is going to be an interesting talk on Blog Talk Radio with Talking with Heroes program. And there's some very huge things that are coming up, folks. So I ask that you stay tuned. This has been Kevin Lake and Nicole Johnson-Starr with Two Whackos and Key Lime Pie. We thank you guys so much for listening on the PTSD Retreat Radio Talk Show. Have a great night, everybody, and we look forward to talking to you next week.
Bye-bye.